Welcome to A Reader's Paradise for book lovers, audiobook listeners, writers, and for everyone who loves a great story. Hello and welcome to another episode of A Reader's Paradise. We truly appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to give this podcast a listen. And today is no different because we have something very, very exciting for you. I have had the absolute pleasure of taking a section of a book called Gotta Get It Back by Deliah Lawrence. Now, this book is part of a series, and I am privileged and lucky to have been able to narrate the first chapter of the book with the author's permission. The book, Gotta Get It Back, is a story of romance, intrigue, suspense, and all of those things in between. The story is going to speak for itself, so I truly hope that you enjoy this particular excerpt from the book. Also, I want to let you know that you can download the book at Amazon.com. The book, once again, is called Gotta Get It Back, and it's by Deliah Lawrence. Well, let's get into our story, but before we start, let's take a deep breath. Okay, here we go. Gotta Get It Back, a novel by Deliah Lawrence, Chapter 1. Several months had gone by, and not a word from Kyle. No text messages, no missed calls, no voicemail messages, nothing. I wondered why I still gave a damn. I had signed him out of my life the day our divorce became final. Yet, here I was, concerned about his ass. And today, of all days, after reveling in a blissful state of loving my new man, he turned up like a bad penny and left me a voicemail message. Hey, Deirdre, just my luck you didn't pick up. Thinking about you, baby. Miss you. Unbelievable. His words were slow, sweet, and smooth, as if they were dipped in honey, ready to trap me in his lies. I heard Hill coming toward the bedroom and quickly turned off my cell phone and placed it on the nightstand for fear Kyle would follow up with a text message or worse, a phone call. He was a very determined man, but I was in no mood to entertain his antics. So I fluffed up the king-size pillow and greeted Hill with a sexy yet guilty smile. Hey, sweetness, he said, as he sat a breakfast tray in front of me, a single yellow carnation in a white vase next to a plate of scrambled eggs with shredded cheese, crisp bacon, toast, and black roasted coffee with just the right amount of cream and sugar. I loved this man. Go ahead, eat up. You need to get your strength back after pouncing on me like a tigress. I like it. He beamed at me. How could I tell him Kyle had just left me a voicemail message? Those two really hated each other, but then again, I was the one stuck in the middle. Hill hated that Kyle acted like he still owned me, and Kyle acted like there was no other man for me but him. But I always reassured Hill that I was all his, and to tell the truth, being between two men sometimes felt downright uncomfortable. Worse than a day without the internet. You know, I can't resist a man bearing a chiseled chest and wearing boxers, especially when he's serving me breakfast in bed, I said, picking up a strip of bacon and stuffing it into my mouth. So, what's on your agenda today? He smiled as he sat next to me in bed. Let's see. Well, I've spent the weekend with you, so I'd best be heading to my place. You know, to check the mail, clean up a bit. I doubt if Miss Bonita did much except bring in the newspaper and water my plants. Of course, I'll hear about it, I said mockingly, rolling my eyes. Hill laughed, and I was reminded how this man had been there to pick up the pieces of my broken heart after it had been shattered by my ex-husband's lies and deceit. My life had been crazy, and he was the only thing that made any sense. He had suffered the loss of his wife, who had been murdered by her twin brother. Yet he made room for me in his heart. I smiled, drank my coffee, and enjoyed my breakfast. I poked out my bottom lip. Back to reality. I wish I could stay in bed with you, but I know you gotta get back to work, and I have to see what's going on at the shop. I know, but it felt good having you here. He stroked my hair, which I knew must have looked like a tussle mess in need of a curling iron and some gel. I love you. Move in with me. His words were just above a whisper. Silence. He lifted my chin and, looking into my eyes, he said, I know you heard me. Deidre, I said, I love you, and I want you to move in with me. His lips pressed against mine ever so gently, and he eased his tongue inside. I savored his taste. Although I loved this man, I wasn't sure if I was ready for a full-blown commitment. That meant seeing him 24/7 when I had grown accustomed to being in my own space. That meant he'd eventually ask me to marry him. That meant I'd have to be honest with myself as to whether I wanted to wear a ring on the fourth finger of my left hand again. When he broke from the kiss, he moved away from me. No doubt, waiting for an answer. I didn't want to hurt his feelings. He had suffered his own hurts and seemed to be on the mend being with me. This was ideal. We were good for each other. But I couldn't deny how I felt either. Can I get back to you on that? He pulled further away. Wait. What? His features hardened into a frown. I reached for his hand, but he withdrew it quickly and got up from the bed. With his back turned to me, he hurriedly put on his pants without saying a word. I knew he was pissed, but he had to realize I was an independent woman, and while I loved him, I was still not ready to say I do again. At least, not yet. Baby, you know I love you. Please understand, I need some time. What's the rush anyway? The rush? He brushed past me and stormed into the bathroom. I sighed heavily and fell back into the bed. It's going to be a very long day. My mind raced through all of the excuses as to why I was afraid to say yes and move in. The truth was, it had been a very long time since I felt so relaxed, since I could be myself around someone else. It scared me. That afternoon, it didn't matter that traffic was moving at a snail's pace. I just needed to get home, take a shower, and later that night, sleep in my own bed. Hill would just have to understand. At least, I hoped he would. As I pulled into the driveway, Miss Bonita marched briskly towards my house. She looked a little different today, not dressed in her usual pink microfleece house slippers and floral housecoat. Instead, she was wearing a stylish, burgundy-colored sweatsuit and sporting a short, sexy hairstyle. She waved at me wildly. Hey, child. You're looking good, Miss Bonita. What's new and exciting in your world? Not sure if I really wanted to know, but I was quite sure she would burn my ears off either way. Tell you everything once we get inside and you make us some coffee to fuel me up. Didn't she just leave her house? So good to see you, I said. I unlocked the door and we walked inside. I took off my coat and hung it in the closet. I see that man Hill agrees with you. Miss Benita took a seat on the sofa. I could say the same of Larry. How's he doing? I asked as I made my way to the kitchen to make us some coffee. Miss Benita giggled. Well, all right then. I'm happy for you both. Seeing Miss Benita happy meant she would spend less time at my house gossiping about everybody else in the neighborhood. Then the cordless phone rang and interrupted our conversation. I answered it. So, you're home, a deep voice said. Yeah, Dad. Why didn't you call me on my cell phone? He grunted. What's going on? Is it Ethel? Is she still fussing with you? A moment paused before he answered. When you face trials... Pops, you're not making any sense. Hold on. I cut the receiver and shouted toward the living room. Miss Benita, my father's on the phone and I have to take the call. No worries. I'll wait until you're done. Say hello to the Reverend for me. She reached for the remote control and turned on the TV. Miss Benita, it may be a while. Knowing Miss Benita, she would have her ears perked up like bunny antennas, ready to absorb sights and sounds and turn them into motion pictures. But this wasn't a conversation I wanted her to hear. So I stared at her from the kitchen. Okay, hint received. I'll let myself out. Talk to you later. Miss Benita shouted back. I heard the front door close, and then I sucked in a deep breath before asking, Have you been drinking? James, chapter 1, verse 2 through 3 gives us encouragement. My father could make a sermon out of anything. Okay, I don't have a Bible in front of me right now, but what do you need encouragement for now? I turned on the tap, filled the kettle with water, and set it on the stove. You, my daughter, I need words of wisdom from the book of James to encourage me to count it a joy when we face trials. I know I have sinned, and now I'm facing trials from the congregation because they know the truth. When my father was worried, he would clutch to Bible phrases, verses, and terminology to find his answers. What? How did this happen? Ethel. Love her, but sometimes that woman can be so naive, goes around trusting the wrong folks. I wondered how long it would be before his wife ran her mouth about me being her husband's love child. And who might that be? Don't tell me, Sister Sarah. Ding, ding, ding. You win the prize. Although he was being lighthearted about the situation, I knew it was weighing him down. And as for Sister Sarah, I wasn't really surprised that she was the one who had spread the news. That woman was in the middle of every piece of church gossip that had ever graced the steps of Junction Baptist Church. I heard my father take a gulp from what I hoped was a cup of coffee. Drinking liquor at any time of day never helped anyone think clearly. But this trial will make me grow. I'm not a man to hide things, and if they want to let me go after serving the community for all these years, claiming I'm unfit to lead the congregation, well, let it be what it be. I heard defeat in my father's voice. Hold up! This is not the man I know. You grew that congregation. You started an after-school tutoring program, a mentoring program for the neighborhood kids, a coat drive. Should I go on? Trust me, you won't go down without a fight. I was very protective of my father and would not hesitate to take on the church if I had to. He had had a moment of weakness with my mother and shouldn't be punished by being barred from serving the Lord. Not when so many sinners were walking around in flashy suits with ugly ties and fussy dresses with matching church hats which could be mistaken for flying saucers. Whoa, slow down there, soldier. I can handle the rumblings of the church, and this fight will make me grow and be stronger. It just means I have to trust and put my faith in Him. I'm not afraid. I knew I would face some trials, but I also know I'll be fine. If you say so, but we both know some of those folks shouldn't say anything when they are some of the worst offenders, hanging out in clubs and sleeping with married folks. Don't get me started. I huffed. Let's not. And like a NASCAR driver switching gears, he asked, So, how's Hill? I like that boy. He's fine. He asked me to move in with him. And I couldn't say yes. Scared? Yes. I understand. Just take it slow. I have a feeling this one's a keeper. Real stand-up kind of guy. Not too many of them around these days, my father said. Preach. Well, that concludes this episode of A Reader's Paradise. Remember, you can download the book Gotta Get It Back at Amazon.com and wherever books are sold. Until next time, happy reading.